Greetings viewers, Nadaida here, bringing you some of my Foxy thoughts. Legends Arceus is easily one of the best fun games I've played on the Nintendo Switch yet. It doesn't quite make up for games that felt like they had an interesting idea, but suffered from formulaic writing and forced third act conflict, or being what I consider a lackluster remake. But something you, a mere youth of 15, are whisked away by Arceus to the distant past of Sinnoh when the region was called Hisui, and the people, some of which are theorized to be from different regions, are fearful of Pokemon since these beasts are feral and prone to attacking humans that wander into their territory. Or who knows, maybe you're from the real world and just got isekai'd into the beginning of the Pokemon universe. Whichever it is, you meet the Professor Laventon and help him round up 3 unruly little Pokemon that were brought to the region by settlers: Cyndaquil, Oshawott, and Rowlet. Not gonna lie, kinda disappointed you can't start the game with all 3 of these little guys and have to choose one, considering they don't really seem to behave towards the Professor, but allegedly take a liking to you. Through Laventon, you're inducted into the Surveillance Corps of the Galaxy Exploration Team. I'm sure someone someday won't corrupt this organization for nihilistic reasons. And I'm doubly sure said Straw Nihilist won't possibly be a descendant of its captain. That'd just be silly. Your role is simple: capture as many Pokemon as possible to help Laventon complete his magnum opus, the Pokedex.
Poro shit. Professor Samuel Oak of Kanto invented the Pokedex, the world's first high-tech encyclopedia on Pokemon. You can't just rewrite history like this.
Since this is the olden times, rather than getting a Rotom to take up residence in an electronic device that probably makes up entries to make Pokemon seem darker than they probably are just to soothe the player, the Pokedex this time around is just a journal. And rather than getting an immediate entry when you catch a Pokemon, you need to complete several tasks a set number of times before an entry can be written in. Legends Arceus quickly grew a ton of popularity from people who quickly took to the game, and the Nuzlockers who have been a fun of ton to watch.
Yeah. Do it, George. Jesus! George! Not the water, not the water! They've got him up against the water! George! No! George! No! Kill them! George! No, not the water! Kill him! Oh my god! George, don't let them push you in the water, dude! Live! Fight! Ember! Ember! Burn him! Jesus Christ! His back's against the... No!
I'm one of those people who cares more about whether a game's story is interesting and I'm invested in the gameplay, rather than if the graphics are up to some ridiculously high standards the gaming community may have. Some of my favorite games are still the original Crash Bandicoot series and Ripto's Rage, and the graphics for those games are really rough compared to today's standards. While I'm not going to sit here and claim that the graphics for Lay are on par with the Persona series, or that one game every other YouTuber's compared it to, I'm not gonna, you can't make me. I am also not going to tell you that the graphics of this game are absolute shit, like a lot of bad faith actors would. I have watched a video from Emperor Cubone, and watched Radical Soda play the game on his streaming channel, and I will concede that there are times in the game where the Pokemon models kind of drop in quality. One can only hope that GameFreak will improve on that when the Gen 9 games are released later this year. Although some sharp eyes have pointed out that there are still some issues when they were reviewing the trailer, GameFreak, I think, did a quite decent job with the human Pokemon models in this game. They have a decent amount of shading to them, although that could be lighting. Sliggoo and Goodra look just as slimy as you'd expect snail dragons to be, and they have a nice sheen coming off their shells. In the final area, which is basically a frozen wonderland, you'll notice that characters actually have a bit of frost on them if you look closely enough. I also like the semi-dark lighting in the Snow Point Temple. It looks just as mysterious as it's supposed to be. Now, while I do think the models and some of the animations and backgrounds are a step up from Sword and Shield, every now and then some Pokemon models will make this awkward jumping animation if you bump into them. Sometimes your foot will just be planted on thin air when viewed from certain angles, when you aren't standing on solid ground, and when you're in a cave, your model seems to go down in quality for whatever reason. But hey, at least the trees all have the right texture, am I right?
In the story of Sleeping Beauty, the beautiful princess, with whom I identify, was awakened by the kiss of a noble prince.
I'll always hold that Sword and Shield story went from passably formulaic to groan-inducing when the writing team decided that Chairman Rose and his company needed to be the Aether Foundation of Gen 8, and that the rest of the game was sort of dragged down into "but why" territory until the DLC someone made up for it. Legends Arceus, though, has a story that's pretty interesting to follow from start to end. Or maybe that's just me, because I grew up watching Inuyasha, which is about traveling back to the fantastical period of Japan's history, and a good chunk of Yokai Watch 2's plot involves time travel. You start out just catching Pokemon, but then get involved with the Diamond Clan led by Husbando Adaman, and the Pearl Clan led by totally not jailbait Irida, who mainly call on you to quell what this game refers to as noble Pokemon, who've been driven mad by some unknown force. The only negative people really have, okay, not the only negative issue people have with this game's story, just a really prominent one, is the seemingly contrived reason the Galaxy team's leader throws you out of the village in the third act of the game. I do kind of agree with this, but after thinking about it, and from the perspective of the characters arguing in your favor, but when I looked at it from his perspective, yeah, I can totally understand the conclusion he came to. Plus, earlier in the game he does say that there are people in the village we're still suspicious of you since you fell from the skies. This game likes to remind you over and over again. Doesn't make your banishment from the village feel like any less of a forced conflict, but I can sort of understand it from a narrative perspective. And there's the fact that Irida and Nanaman will just pop up in certain occasions with little to no explanation. Otherwise, I say that this game does a pretty good job at storytelling.
There it goes! Whoa! Looks like a bad Pokemon choice!
This game is a rather unique battle system. Or actually, is it more of a mechanic? Feel free to correct me. Once a Pokemon's masters a specific move, they'll be able to use something called styles. Strong style is exactly what it sounds like. Being able to hit with more force than the move would normally allow, but you need to sacrifice your speed in exchange. And vice versa with Agile style. And both styles use up 2 PP each time they're used. Some styles will also result in Pokemon evolving, like Stantler and Hisswing Quillfish becoming Weirdeer and Overquill after using Side Shield Dash and Barbarage. You can also now switch up the moveset. No longer will a move be deleted, as you level up, gain experience, and learn new techniques. Instead, you can manually switch around whichever move you want your Pokemon to use whenever. First Gen 5 makes TMs reusable, and now this. This is something that I've wanted for a long time, and hope it sticks around for the main games. Now this third talking point is a bit of a double-edged sword for me. I know how people will complain that whenever you enter the battle in Gen 5, that the background or surrounding area either wouldn't match the overworld, or just became a blank void. Well, that complaint doesn't exist here. When you encounter a Pokemon in the overworld, you battle it in the overworld after a transition. You can even move around during the battle to get a better view, and even avoid taking damage from some of the attacks. The downside is that sometimes when you battle a Pokemon in the wild, you may end up battling multiple Pokemon, either due to Pokemon being so close together, or from multiple angles. You won't even know this is a thing until your Pokemon is hit during battle. You can level up your Pokemon to the highest level, but you'll see that health bar go low real fast if you're being hit from all sides by 5 or 6 Pokemon in a row. I speak from experience. As previously stated, this game goes from simply catching Pokemon to 2 factions seeking aid from the Galaxy team, and 5 Pokemon both groups are responsible for go mad after being struck by lightning from the very space-time rift you fell from that can always be seen there in-game. Once frenzied, these Pokemon become far more dangerous than they probably would be normally. They'll either attack you from a distance, yes you, or rush you before you can react. The only way to combat these Pokemon are by pelting bombs made from their favorite food at them, and then sending out your Pokemon when the noble is temporarily incapacitated. When I tried to send out my Pokemon, however, it only worked when I was fighting Arcanine. Maybe it's because I put too much of a distance between myself and the literal crazed monster that was trying to kill me, but whenever I tried to call out my Pokemon, I just ended up eating time before the noble recovered from its exhaustion. In order to avoid being hit by incoming attacks with Pokemon rushing you, you'll need to dodge by pressing the Y button and direct the stick in whichever direction you want to move. I'm completely, totally shit at dodging, and man enough to admit it. I mean, what sort of insecure knob would accuse the game of itself about why they keep dying over and over? It's ridiculous, right? That'd be bordering on Dark-side Phil territory, wouldn't it? That being said, yes, Game Freak, I totally believe that the kids in your audience can concentrate when being charged by a rock bug monster and simultaneously outrunning electrical charges and avoiding bombs. I probably died to the first 2 Nibble Pokemon 5 to 10 times combined. From the 3rd boss fight onward, I actually needed help due to how insane those boss fights were. Despite how hard the boss fights could be, however, I imagine they would be quite fun for those who like a challenge. One of the things I wanted to continue was that there would be Pokemon walking around in the Overworld. BDSP sort of did this with the Underground, and I feel that's cool and all, but I feel once again, LA takes what Sword and Shield did and improves on it. I've heard people say that the Overworld looks empty, as opposed to the Let's Go games in Sword and Shield. Personally speaking, I'd rather have a few Pokemon sprinkled here and there in vast environments than a cluster of Pokemon pacing back and forth in patches of tall grass in the wild area. Nearly every Pokemon that shows up in an environment feels like it belongs there, and I couldn't be happier with what I've seen. Since this game focuses on catching Pokemon, there are a few new tricks to accomplish that. Like I said previously, if a Pokemon sees you, it's going to attack you. Though you can avoid attention by crouching in tall grass and sneaking up on the Pokemon. You can throw food to distract the Pokemon so you can better approach it from behind and hit it with a custom-made Pokeball. Unfortunately, not every new area is going to have grass, so you are going to have to be a bit creative here. You can use Stealth Spray to obscure your scent from Pokemon, and Smoke Bombs to obscure yourself from their view. Just make sure they're facing away from you when you use these things, and try to avoid being seen or they'll still know you're there. While some Pokemon will flee from you, others are far more likely to attack you. And if a whole bunch of Pokemon gang up on you, you're going to take massive amounts of damage, and I suggest running away as fast as you can. If you don't manage to escape the Pokemon in pursuit, you'll black out and likely lose whatever items you were carrying. And that's always fun, isn't it? The Pokemon you'll really want to watch out for are the Alphas. Super big Pokemon with glowing red eyes. These guys are really powerful and won't go down in just one super effective hit. I should know I lost 3 Pokemon to an Alpha Octillery, and the last thing I wanted to do when starting this game was be tackled by a giant flaming unicorn. Wait, what the? My ribs. A good way to escape aggressive Pokemon pursuing you would be the ride Pokemon you get in the game. And they brought that mechanic back from Sun and Moon. You'll meet a member of the Diamond Clan who will give you an item called the Celestica Flute that allows you to summon Pokemon that you can ride on. Weirdeer can gallop and bound across the land. Ursanuna will plow along and even be able to detect treasures hidden underground. Basculegion allows you to travel in the water and can even leap great distances. Sneasler scales cliffs. And you can soar with Braviary via hang glider. Okay, so originally I was going to talk about the Pokemon you could find in this game, like the Hisuian forms and the new evolutions, but I respect your guys' time, and I doubt that any of you would want to listen to me drone on longer than I have to, so I may just do a separate video for that altogether. If you'd like to see that video, put Beta Arceus in the comments.
All you ever do is complain. You never try to make things better.
I know it feels like I've been praising this game, but there are some issues I take with it. Some of these are just issues I have, although maybe they're shared with other people, so feel free to disagree or disregard them. Now, considering this all took place in the distant past, part of me has to wonder, What happened? Why did the people of history stop using styles? Considering standard can only become weirdier upon using the agile variant of Psy Shield Bash, I can sort of understand why that species failed at the time, but I could also assume that Ursaring could still find P blocks and use them to evolve on nights of the full moon. Also, what happened to the alpha Pokemon? These things are rare, but they're frequent enough in the game to pose as some sort of mini-boss. I also don't think we ever get an explanation about why their eyes glow red, do we? They could have just been super big. I remember someone speculating that this could be Arceus' way of lashing out against humans, but we now know that that wasn't the case. Those are just minor things though. This one I really can't get over. One of the Diamond Clan members is Ingo from Gen 5. Not an ancestor that just resembles Ingo. No, it's Ingo himself. Why? Well, I know the in-universe reason. Apparently he got sucked into the same space-time rift you did, but for what purpose? I mean, aside from knowing what his name is, he's suffering from amnesia. Now there are things he does remember, but they're too fuzzy for him to remember them entirely. There's also a passing mention of his chandelier, which just makes me question what happened to his previous team of Pokemon? What happened to yours if you're meant to come to the same world as him for that matter? If you really did come to the same Pokemon world Ingo did, and you're 15, then you likely would already be a trainer. Not everyone in these games is a trainer, when you have literal preschoolers that already are trainers. We have school teachers that are trainers. So if you are meant to have come from the Pokemon world, you were likely a trainer. Now I think I get it. They did the whole misplaced character thing in Gen 7 with Annabelle, and Gen 6 did start the whole multiverse theory. But the reason the Gen 7 games worked is because Annabelle was pulled through an ultra wormhole from an alternate dimension. Honestly, this just feels really unnecessary to me. This easily could have just been an ancestor of Ingo and Emmett. Why is my brain keep wanting to call their twin Clement when I'm recording this? This easily could have just been an ancestor of Ingo and Emmett, who share the same facial structure and similar wardrobe. I'm sure there's other stuff I could talk about, but nothing's really coming to me. Plus the script is playing long already. Oh, I can only imagine how the ending is gonna go. Good luck, future me! So what do you guys think? Are you enjoying the game? Think it makes up for the faults of the previous Gen 8 games? Hope anything we've seen here will carry over into Gen 9? I mean, maybe due to the Pokemon Home update. This is Night saying thanks for letting me share my thoughts. Please share yours with me. And in the meantime, I'll be playing with my shiny Ponyta.